Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chenzor Dynasty here on twitch.tv/jchenzor. My name is James Chen, your host of the Chenzor Dynasty, and we are here with another episode of the Chen Reaction. You know, by the way, whenever I type on Twitter, I type the pun, we're living the stream, right? It's a pun like we're living the dream, we're living the stream. But actually, it's kind of like a dual meaning as well, because you could also read it as we're living the stream, right? So like we're going live. It's kind of why I decided to go with that little moniker on my tweets every time the stream goes live. We're living the stream, we're living the stream. It's like a visual word pun instead of an audio word pun. It's actually a visual word pun, which I am obviously amazing because I can do puns everywhere. What's up, Nightmare James? Yeah, I'm going to do a beginner's lounge later on. Which I put a poll up on Twitter for whether it to be Grand Blue Fantasy Versus or Under Night and Birth EXE Late CLR. So if you want to vote on one of those two, you can check out my Twitter at jchenzor on Twitter as well. By the way, before I get started and everything, I also got myself brand new 86 shirts. I'm really happy. This one is a Viking shirt, as you can see. This is the Bay from Guilty Gear. Yeah, check out that Viking shirt. I love these designs that they have for these shirts. I love the elaborate designs that 86 has it over there. So, it's really nice. But yeah, Viking is the Bay. So, oh, nice. You were wearing that yesterday. Good stuff, Drunken Banana. Yeah, so I got a bunch of new shirts. So I'll be wearing those on stream during the course of the week, etc., etc. So, I just said etc., etc. No, man. I'll tell you something. When I was editing my last First Attack, I don't say it as much in these conversations like this, but thank you, Instant Riot, for the resub here. You've been subscribed for 4 months. Thank you so much, sirs. Thank you so much. But when I was editing that First Attack, I spent the whole time going, here was this, right? And we would come and do this, right? And then this, right? And then and I was like, oh my god, I hate myself. So I actually physically went and edited out a bunch of the right? I just like cut it because it drove me nuts. I've got to figure out a way to stop that. Because it's bad. It's bad. So I'm going to try my best to cut out, etc., as well. So, anyways, let's talk about this topic. I've been rambling for too long. For those of you guys who want to hear about the topic and everything like that, there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about a couple of tweets, both of them kind of falling into the same category, I guess you can call it. Let me get this link to this tweet here. Actually, I could probably right-click, open a new tab. No, I guess I can't do that. Okay. All right. Well, in any case, let's just get this tweet on the stream over here. Let you know about this. Yeah, I know, Infected Jazz, but I mean that's just something I got to be better about in general as a commentator. That's just part of getting better at the job and everything like that. So, anyway, here's this tweet that was put up on Twitter today. And I know some people have had stuff problematic with it, that they're not necessarily a fan of the tweet and stuff. But here we go. So, A3 Religion on Twitter says, Street Fighter V Season 1, exciting. FGC, nerf everything. SF5 Season 2, little less exciting. FGC, nerf. Street Fighter V Season 3, neutered. FGC, stale. SFE CE goes nuts. FGC, I love it. Right? And then DBFZ Season 1, exciting. FGC, nerf. DBFZ Season 2, neutered. FGC, stale. DBFZ Season 3, frothing. FGC, I need this. Patterns. And then, of course, the animated GIF that has to go along with everything here at this point in time. Oh man, here we go. Let's get you the whole thing there. And I wanted to talk about this a little bit. I wanted to respond to it on Twitter, but you know what? I figured I'd respond to it here instead, just because then I could just talk about it a little bit more easy and everything like that. So let's talk about this tweet here a little bit. I know some people have issues with it just based off of the opinions on the seasons. Some people are kind of, saying like Street Fighter V Season 1 wasn't actually very good at all. etc. Oh gosh, I almost did it again. Man, I need to figure out this. I gotta stop this. People were talking about how I don't even remember what I was saying anymore. Basically, what a lot of people were disagreeing with on the tweet was just the assessment of the seasons necessarily. Like Street Fighter V Season 1 wasn't that exciting in the end. That wasn't very good. Whoa! I almost did it again. Well, at least I'm kind of being aware of it now. But the main message from this tweet, okay? Let's ignore the whole concept of, let's ignore what they said about the seasons necessarily in terms of rating the quality of the games during the course of the season. Obviously, that's not the main point. The main point that A3 Religion, I think, is trying to make is that games that are crazier are a lot more fun and people enjoy it, right? So, when things are strong and people get upset and they cry for nerfs, and then when the devs listen to it and they nerf things, and then after they nerf a bunch of things, it actually turns out making the game kind of stale. And then, after that, once you make a game kind of go a little bit more nuts, then there you go. People seem to be a lot happier with the game. And with that comment, I do agree a lot with. I really do enjoy it when fighting games get crazier. I was watching Commander Jesse and Danny Pham play these long sets of Dhalsim versus Zangief. And this sucks for Zangief, obviously, because it was a bad fight made worse. But Dhalsim's V-Skill 2 Fireball was just causing so much havoc to Danny Pham's Zangief. And at one point in time, I just screamed, "I love it! This is so awesome!" And then I looked at Danny Pham, and I say this as a Zangief player, and I have total sympathies that this fight sucks. But I just love the fact that things are just crazier and wilder. I do enjoy that factor in fighting games. I like it when things that you've never seen before can happen constantly. Like, you're always amazed by what the hell just even happened? What is going on? Or new situations, new interactions, and other such things. Man. If you're wondering why I'm pausing and going and laughing at myself, I'm trying my best to excise certain words from my discourse right now. So I'm trying to make sure I don't say a certain phrase that I'm obsessed with these days. So, I really do like that. And with Dragon Ball FighterZ in Season 3, if they made it so the set play is a little harder with the snapback meta being gone, and with the different combination of sys allowing for people to set up crazier teams, I do think that's good. Now, obviously the snapback meta also, made the game very dangerous and, was hard to survive, and by removing that, you might actually make the game a little slower paced. Obviously, they've added the new X Factor mechanic in there, the comeback factor. What is it called? Like unlimited potential or something of that nature. But we'll see once the game comes out. The patch is coming out very, 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 very soon. So we'll see how the game changes in terms of the flow and the pace. But overall, I do agree. The crazier a game gets, the better it usually is and the more fun it is to play, because when there's just more ability for just different things to happen, and it's the beauty of fighting games, right? If you just, that was the one word that there was another word that I didn't want to use. It's the beauty of fighting games. The more you put into the game, the more interactions that can be created on the spot and improvised, and the more wackiness that ensues typically results in a stronger game overall. Even something like MVC2, as broken as that game might have been balance-wise, there's something about it that at least all the characters who are top tier were wild enough and varied enough that it created a really fun meta regardless. You know, obviously, if one character is super broken and dominates the game and makes everything boring because you only see that character, that's a problem. But in the case of MVC2, as unbalanced as that game was, there were at least 4 or 5 teams that were all good enough to fight each other to create the madness that would come up from it. It was one of the reasons why I loved playing Melee so goddamn much when that game was out. Obviously, like I said, I played free-for-all, 4 players, time-based, not stock. So I've never gotten good at the one-on-one strategy. But when I played Melee with my friends in college and such, we had such an amazing time playing that game because just different stuff just kept happening that we would have never seen before. Just the most hilarious things would keep happening, and a lot of times that's kind of what generates the enjoyment factor from a lot of people from fighting games, is just having something completely crazy happen, wacky happen, and having people laugh about it. You know, so when your game is a little too stale, I guess I want to say that, yes, it is definitely a problem. And one of the ways that games do get that way, and you do see this happen a lot, is through nerfing. You definitely see a lot of developers keep nerfing a game so that the things that are too powerful, you take them away, and then it's just not as fun anymore. And it's one of the reasons why I'm super excited about Street Fighter V Season 5. Because the characters that were super good in Season 4, like a Rashid, like Akuma, they weren't even nerfed all that bad. A lot of people feel like Rashid got stronger with the V-Skill 2. A lot of people keep saying he's still number 1 and everything. But when you look at the change list across the board, he got nerfed pretty significantly. But, the fact that nerfing him that significantly makes it so that he's still potentially really strong, I think is a great thing. I love V-Skill 2 because it's another one of those factors that just adds into the craziness. It adds into the wildness. And for Dragon Ball FighterZ, by having 3 different assists for all of the characters that you can put into the game, this means that Dragon Ball is now entering that territory where I don't think the developers can know everything that's going to happen. And that is beauty of fighting games. If I've said this before, if you create a fighting game and everything is known, if we know everything about the game already right from the get-go, it's not a good game. It's not a good fighting game, right? You have to have the fighting game be able to have crazy interactions and just wild stuff happen, scrambles, those kind of things. And the more crazy a game gets, and the more unknown even from the developer standpoint of what can happen in the game, usually that equals a better thing. And that's why I get mad when people are like, oh, look at this broken thing, didn't they even test this? It's like, you know what? Like, you gotta let a fighting game breathe. You gotta let it live a lot of the times. And so, with something like Granblue Fantasy Versus, people are talking about maybe, we need to nerf Fairy, or we need to nerf Gran, or we need to nerf Catalina. I don't feel like that might be the right way to go. Maybe there's a way to nerf it so that Gran just can't boot everybody all day. And maybe, I don't know, limit Fairy's install super, because that thing is kind of ridiculous. But the point is that instead of nerfing them, we should buff a lot of the other characters, right? Because the weakness of a lot of those characters, like a Luane, is that Luane doesn't beat you by doing anything really crazy unique that someone like Gran can't do most of, right? Maybe Yggdrasil, but Yggdrasil is very easily avoided once you get used to it. That's the big giant anime girl that, was the free win button when you didn't know how to fight it. Once you learn how to fight it, it's actually not that good. Human Pyramid actually turns out to be much better. But in any case, I really do hope that Granblue Fantasy Versus doesn't get to the point where they just nerf Fairy into oblivion, nerf Gran and Catalina into oblivion. And I do feel like they have to obey the lore a little bit. Gung-Ho might be a little bit less gung-ho about having characters live in a different kind of power space in a different franchise of their game, right, and a different genre of their universe. It could just be one of those things where because Gran and Catalina are the main characters of Granblue, that they kind of want them to be strong as well. Loane is kind of the joke character of the series, or one of the joke characters of the series, so he's not going to be particularly strong. So there may be a little bit of a lore factor in there. But regardless, I don't want to see characters get nerfed to the ground. Like, if Gran and Catalina and most of these characters can still keep doing like the silly long combos they can do, they just do a little less damage. Maybe just make the boot not as crazy. Almost did it again. I'd been doing really well. Almost said it. If they were able to do a bunch of those kind of things, and then buff a bunch of the other characters to make them a little bit stronger, I think that would be really cool. And for Dragon Ball FighterZ, as I was mentioning earlier, by opening up the ability to combine all these different assists, there's no way they've tested every combination. Their QA playtesters, whatever, there's no way they've tested every combination. Someone is going to find something that they didn't intend that has some sort of weird synergy that wasn't obvious on paper, but someone just finds the synergy and then it works great, and everybody's like, what the heck is happening here? And again, I think that's fantastic. I think that's the way fighting games should be played. I think, the players should decide what is crazy, and give them as much room to go as crazy as possible. So I think that's really, I'm excited about that. And I hope that that's where it goes. The thing is, some characters sometimes can't even be buffed. They're just flawed. Look at Jiren. So Eli Hendricks, one of the hardest things for me is that I'm not familiar with how Jiren plays. I can't really say. Now, of course, we're talking about, so Dragon Smoke says you need some degeneracy for fun's sake. 17 Hits says degenerate strategies are what we like, kind of things. Yeah, we want some craziness. BB Tag's another one of those games that's just full of crazy, and that's one of the biggest appeals of that game. But obviously there is an extent, right? There's a limit. You can't make it too crazy, otherwise it's just wild and random, or someone is too powerful and it just doesn't really matter. We want to make sure that the game is crazy, but in a way that's enjoyable, in a way that's fun, in a way that allows people to be creative, but doesn't end up creating one meta that destroys everybody in kind of a boring way. When that kind of stuff happens, yes, then you nerf it, right? If something is, as I've said in all of my First Attack episodes, if a strategy is too strong, and it's legit actually too strong. Like, if you're a beginner and you're playing fighting games and you're losing, and you're like, what can you do to the strategy? The strategy is too good. It's so broken. Like, if it's not being used by everyone and beating everybody, then it's not that dominant of a strategy. It's really just not that dominant of a strategy, right? But if it does get to the point where everybody's using it, and it's beating almost everybody, Yan Li, then it definitely needs a nerf, right? It definitely needs a nerf at that point in time. So it's not that you don't nerf and only buff, but you nerf the things that are clearly overpowered and you buff a lot of the other stuff. And that's kind of what you want to go. I just answered that just inherently, Tiago Fowler. Basically, you do need to nerf. Because obviously, if something is too strong, so let's say if there's one tactic that's too strong, clearly from one character, okay? Let's just make it up, okay? Let's just say someone finds something with Ed, and now Ed kills everybody in Street Fighter V, and is clearly too good, right? Do you buff everybody else to the level of Ed? No, then you're buffing 30, you're buffing 41 characters, or however many characters there are in the game now. That's too much goddamn work. That is too much work. If you could nerf that one thing to keep it fun, but not obviously broken and dominating, it's going to be that much easier to do, right? Because as you buff up the other 39, 41 characters, whatever, to match that one character, you're going to accidentally overbuff one of them, and then they're going to be the problem, and then you buff everybody else to match them, and then they become the problem, and then another character becomes a problem, etc., etc. Who and then then that character becomes a problem, and then you can't balance the game that way, right? You have to balance by taking whatever's a little too powerful, nerfing it down, and then buffing up the other stuff. But it's got to be a balancing act. You got to do both sides of the equation. And again, just like it is with playing fighting games, same thing with balancing fighting games. There's no one answer. You really got to take it on a case-by-case basis, right? Sometimes there's just some things that are just so powerful that you just can't buff everybody else to match it to make the game work at all. Right, like the DE Climax says, Nerf making something more fun is Fulgur's meter rework and KI making him actually have to care about managing that resource. JGB Pro says Core 8 Gaming pointed to a creative nerf in Street Fighter 4 with FADC canceled from Shoryuken in the nerf buff video. But yeah, the game is more fun as long as your character has something. Yeah. Buddha Bure, and again, thank you, Buddha Bure. Just letting you know that I'm getting a new chair now, so I'm excited about that. He says, in competitive games, devs often forget that fun is king. If you optimize for competition, it's super easy to make everything dull. Yeah, and the interesting thing too is that I'm not saying you need to purposely make low-tier characters, but sometimes when you have a character that has a tactic that's clearly very strong, a lot of the enjoyment actually comes from learning how to beat that tactic and finally, overcoming that kind of thing. Like something like Cable, right? Cable's obviously super broken in MVC2. I mean, he clearly has one tactic that makes half the cast completely unviable. Like, he just eliminates half the cast. He's not even the best character necessarily. And, because people have found ways to fight it and to defeat it. And in fact, obviously Magneto, Storm, and Sentinel are stronger characters than Cable is now. But people enjoyed learning how to fight that. If you can design a character and they have like one really stupid broken tactic, but then they're weak in a lot of other areas that, they can obviously lose really easily regardless. I think that's a great way to do it. I think that's a great way that is an interesting way to balance a character, which is why I don't mind characters like G in Street Fighter V. Yeah, he absolutely robs you, and he's one of the biggest robbery characters ever. He's got a command grab that leads into the big combos. So basically, you're stuck in a mix-up. You either get hit by a meaty, or you get caught by a command grab that leads to practically the same path, practically the same damage, practically the same stun, and everything sucks. And that's really annoying. But then G also has pretty bad defense, and it works out. It works out. So, again, the idea is to keep everything fun, and you don't have to... you don't have to nerf everything just because people are complaining about it. And that brings me to the video from the No Frills podcast with Yipes and Chris Matrix. They had to kill Sage on the show just recently. And let me see if I can find the quote here. I can probably just do a search for No Frills podcast. Here we go. So I'm gonna play this. You guys let me know if you can hear this or not. It might actually be a little loud, so I'm gonna turn down the volume a little bit, but it might end up being too quiet. Let me know if you guys can hear this.
Dragon Ball was cool because no matter what was in the game, they were just like, nah, this year you're gonna have to hold that.
Yeah.
That actually was like my favorite thing about season 2. But that's not the case for every game. One of the main reasons why I don't like complaining, why I didn't complain about GT that much on social media, was watching how the NRS community interacts on Twitter.
Oh God.
It is actually, and like, you guys are cool. Like, I really like you guys, but if I was a beginner reading your Twitters, I watch the tournament and I go on your Twitters, I would not play your game. I would not play your game.
Man, preach, bro.
Like, that's just the truth. You guys complain about every good character, and then you complain about the game being boring. So I don't know what to do.
And, that's all part and parcel of what we're talking about, right? You complain about everything that's too powerful, it all gets nerfed, and then you complain about the fact that your game is boring. And a lot of that is true. Oh, actually, you know what? I shouldn't have done that. One thing I want to do is, well, here, look, follow No Frills Podcast on Twitter, okay? At NOFRILLZ Podcast. No Frills Podcast, all one word. That's Yipes and Chris Matrix interviewing a lot of people in the community. In this really wonderful studio that Yipes has and everything. So it seems like a really, really, it's such a nice setup that they have, and great show. Absolutely give them a follow and listen to their stuff. Like I said, they're talking with the Kill Sage this week. So let's see. Ultra David said something similar about talking about MK11 on his Twitter. I know Katana Prime is also doing all he can to not say much about the game in Twitter. Grinning Oni says, I played MK11 a fair bit, but man, the community was definitely not enjoyable company to be associated with. So it's interesting because I've talked to David about this myself, because a couple of times that, I was talking to him about it, and I was like, is the game in a bad state right now? Is the game in a bad state? Because all I see on Twitter are people are complaining about, one, anti-airs being too strong, like down ones being too strong as anti-air, and also seeing people complain about how nobody can stop jump 3 or jump 4. It's this weird, like, hey, anti-airs are too strong. Oh my god, jump attacks are too strong. And I'm not sure. Oh yeah, subscribe to the YouTube as well. Thank you for that, Master J Man. Definitely do that. And it's not the casual heavy games that are like that 17 hits, because a lot of times it's the tournament going players in our scene that are actually complaining about it and talking about that kind of thing. A lot of times you do complain about stuff, and it's why I've always said that when you balance a game, shout outs to Demos Thorn. Thank you for the subscription, Demo Storm. And now at 243, I'm 7 away from my 250 goal, which means I'm just going to have to up the goal for July now. But thank you guys again for all the gift subs and the subscriptions during the course of this time. Is that what happened when AA jabs were all nerfed in Street Fighter V? Kind of, but to be honest with you, I mean, it was never the AA jabs that were a problem. Hey, shout outs to Don Teal for the subscription as well. All right, so we're at 97.6%. That's not a percentage. That's a radio station. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it so much. Actually, you know what? Suck my nuts, Demos Thorn, and suck my nuts, Don Teal. There, I forgot to add that in there. So, the thing about it is, obviously with characters like Predator, obviously with characters like Alien, they were a little too strong early on. And again, the anti-air jab still exists, like Eli Hendrick says, but a lot of that comes from the fact that the hurt boxes are a little too low. And a lot of times, people are just equating it to them hitting jump attacks too early or too late and getting jabbed out of the air. And they're going, this is too good. And they don't realize it was because they mistimed their jump attack. It happens a lot. That is an example that comes up a lot. I've seen replays like, how did my thing not hit him? It's just because the game has the animation of the fist still out, but it only has 2 active frames, and a bunch of them out there aren't actually true. Hey, shoutouts to Gundam Jahudi Kai for 2 more subs. Look at this. Suck my nuts, Gundam Jahudi Kai for the gift subs. Suck my nuts to Buddha Bude and Jawarble. So, wow, I thought Buddha Bude and Jawarble were already subs on here. Anyways, thank you. I'm at 98% now. I'm at 98%. So. But, that is actually why I really enjoy the Street Fighter V balance, to be honest with you. I think they've done a really good job. They didn't nerf a lot of characters in Season 5. I really feel like whoever's in charge of the battle design for Street Fighter V right now is actually some of the best guys out there. I really feel like they've done a great job not over-nerfing a lot of the strong characters and making a lot of the weaker characters more fun. Obviously, some characters still need more improvements, like Alex and Ryu. And some characters, it seems like they're a little scared to make them super good, but they're obviously better. They're not bad. They can win now, and they could definitely compete a lot more. So that's good. But, I mean, Dalsum, at this point in time now, all of a sudden Arturo's talking about how strong Dalsum is, right? He's like, oh my god, he's so strong, and V-Skill 2 might actually be really good. Oh, man. Yes, that is, I agree 100% with that, DE Climax. It's basically where I stand, is that the team balancing Street Fighter V now really strongly understands how the game is actually played by competent players. But back to what the Killsage said, you know, what he said is spot on, right? Like, that's absolutely true. You know, if you're gonna just complain about everything that's super strong all the time, and I know that sounds really hypocritical too, because I spend a lot of time complaining on Twitter about my characters, and when I'm playing, I kind of cry and whine about it a lot and everything like that. I'm gonna drop this so you guys can see cat head. Again, that's just my nature. I get frustrated a lot, but, you know, I definitely tried to clarify the fact later on that, you know, I'm just being salty, etc. Oh, no, I'm just being salty, you know, and frustrated, because that's just how fighting game players are. I'm emotional. I definitely always try to make sure I clarify later on after I think about it a little bit more. So that's kind of the goal, is to, you know, if you do have the salty reaction, just make sure you clarify it later on that a lot of it is just salt. That's all. That's all. So, oof. Oh, happy cat. Happy cat with the ear scratch. Why do cats like their ears scratched so much? And their gums. They like their gums scratched so much. Oof. Couldn't other players use the same logic that they're salty, thus it would never change? I mean, even... Yeah, they could. They could. Because, I mean, even when I get frustrated, I always acknowledge that, you know... Like, for example, I play Lucia on Street Fighter V. Do I think she's top tier? No. Do I think she's great? No. Do I think she can win and she's good? Yeah, absolutely. And I always preface that whenever I talk about Lucia and why I think she needs buffs and how I would buff her. I always preface it with, now, I think she's really good and she only needs like one small tweak and then she'd be competitive. So I always do try to at least put in perspective where my standpoint is coming from. But I mean, if you're just complaining about something and just in this completely illogical way, right? Because for a lot of people, it gets to that point where it's like completely illogical, that they're just mad about something and just almost a little illogically mad at it. And that's a problem, right? If you can also, if you do want to be mad about something, offer counter solutions, offer ways to fix it that's logical. Don't be like, give T-Hawk a gun, right? I mean, because that's literally the buff that a lot of people always want for their characters. They're like, this is how I would change the character. Make it so that, you know, this is now more invincible. This has better frames and you can get more damage on combos. And you don't realize that, you know, you would make the character broken, right? Like for me, if I wanted to buff Lucia, right, I would do one of like 5 things, right? 1, make her crouching medium kick reach a little farther. Probably not. Might make her too strong. Make her standing medium kick reach a little farther. That might be one of the more fair ones. Another one is to, I'm not going to do that. Make flipper shot faster, like the starting part of flipper shot faster, so she can throw fireballs quicker. So like if she lands a V reversal, she can throw a flipper shot and not have the enemy hold up for it and kick me in the head and kill me, because it takes so long. And it would just be really cool to have her flipper shot buffed a little bit. And then the last one would be just make her have a slightly faster and shorter ranged jump, so that if you do crouching medium kick into light burn kick at max range, that you could jump and still get a cross up, because at that range you end up jumping over people. Oh, we've got a level 1 hype train going. Woo, let's go. She's a cop, and she's a cop, so she does get a gun. Oh, the other one as well, the 5th buff that I would consider giving her was to make it so that the this one's a tough one. I'm not sure how to make this work properly, because you need all 3 versions of the burn kick right now. But I would like a version of the burn kick that's actually a true block string. Because the problem is with characters like Guile and potentially Honda, they can just react to the burn kick every time you cancel it and stop you because they have their charge characters. That much easier to react with charge characters. I played V for Charlie in Utah, and he would just wait to see the burn kick and flash kick me 100% of the time. So I could never cancel crouching medium kick. I even used fake buttons and stuff like that, and it didn't affect him. So if there was a way to get it so that she had a true block string, the medium kick burn kick has some purposes. You know, it leaves her +2 on hit. If counter hit, she gets combos afterwards. Maybe you can do the same thing with that and have it be so that it just doesn't combo off of the crouching medium kick. I'm sorry, that it doesn't... that it's not a true block string, I should say, you know, so that could be used as the frame trap or something. But, you know, that's kind of where I'm standing for. But see, those are 5 buffs to Lucia, and I would only give her one of those. I would not give her all 5 of those things, right? A lot of times when people are complaining about stuff, they would, here's all the buffs. Here's buff everything. Here's this problem. Here's this problem. Here's this. Characters are supposed to be designed with a weakness, right? Characters are supposed to have a weakness. So if there's one area they have trouble with, good, leave them that way. That's what makes the character interesting. So if you are going to be frustrated with things that happen in the game, just make sure you approach it, and you're going to complain about it on social media, just make sure you do it logically. I'm not saying don't complain. I'm not saying, hey, don't say that this thing is overpowered, because, you know, things are overpowered. That's a legit complaint. But when you do it, don't do it in such a way that it's like everything is terrible, you have to do this and da 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 da, and oh god, this is completely unstoppable. Like, you know, be logical about it. Be logical about it, and also understand that if you see other people playing and they're not losing to the same things that you're losing to, then that means that it's probably not a problem and that you are the problem, right? Only reason why I can kind of complain about Lucia right now is because we don't see Lucia anywhere. We literally don't see her, and I think she's the least played character in tournaments so far. It was her and Honda that were missing from the entire top 128 of EVO Japan. Shout out to Fat Cat 321. Suck my nuts, Fat Cat 321. You know, it was her and Honda, but everyone's clearly starting to understand that Honda's kind of good right now. So Lucia is not being played a lot because I really do think she's kind of weak. Is she bottom 5? She could potentially be bottom 5, but again, that's how good, well balanced this game is. That bottom 5 means you're still super good, because Ryu might still be bottom 5, you know, Vega might be bottom 5, but they're all really good now. Like, literally Problem X said Vega might be top 10, so, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. So we're at 246, Gundam Jehudi Kai. We're at 246, so I'm 4 away from the goals. That's pretty crazy. But let's go ahead and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and call this for the end of the Chen reaction. We've been going for quite some time. However, I will be going to the title screen. We'll come back for Ask Jay Chenzo, where I will answer all sorts of questions from people from the chat. So if you're watching this on YouTube, check that out. It's going to be called Chen Reaction. This number here, part 2. I think that we're on 12. I think this is going to be 9.12, so you'll see 9.12.2 will be the next version, where I answer a bunch of the user questions in the chat. So guys, don't go anywhere. If you are here on Twitch and on YouTube, go check that video out. Make sure you like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up down there. You let me know who you think might be potentially bottom 5 in Street Fighter V right now, because I bet you we're going to get a whole bunch of different answers. So if you watch this, make sure you try to, you know, put in who you think is one person that you think is bottom 5, and we'll probably get a whole gamut of characters, because I'm really curious to see how that's going to go. But thanks guys for watching and tuning in and everything. So again, for you guys on Twitch, make sure you stick around, but like, subscribe on YouTube, and if you're here on Twitch, follow, sub, etc. Make sure you follow or subscribe, bits, donations, gift subs, and all that stuff. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace. Oh.